Good morning. Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Well, this morning has certainly been a typical fall-like morning with cool temperatures, some cloud cover. We've had some fog in the valley, especially in northeast Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey, but that fog is starting to burn out. And we have a risk of a few isolated showers today. A cold front that is currently over the Great Lakes will move east and reach the northern mid-Atlantic, most likely by this afternoon into the evening hours. Not really much of a big deal as far as rain, a few isolated showers moving through, but that's about it. If anything, this cold front will reinforce the polar air mass that is sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic. And the high pressure system that is currently over western Canada will dive to the southeast through central Canada and towards the Great Lakes, producing generally comfortable conditions for this time of year, with temperatures averaging near to slightly below normal for the rest of this week, with an isolated shot of showers each afternoon as these weak cold fronts revolve around the strong area low pressure over the Hudson Bay. Let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. So here we have our water vapor satellite picture, and what I did is I overlaid the jet stream pattern that is currently in place this morning. And it's pretty interesting to keep an eye on this pattern as we move towards the cool season months and we set up for the winter pattern. One thing that is definitely coming up is that we have a rather impressive ridge over the plains in southeast. But notice at the same time we have a trough over the northeast. I think this is going to be a theme as we move forward for the next couple of months. The pattern is basically set up with a deep upper level low over the Pacific, a slight ridge over the Rockies, and then a nice deep trough sitting over much of eastern Canada, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the northern Mid-Atlantic. This pattern is going to continue to send disturbances diving southeast through the Great Lakes and through the northern Atlantic, and it's also going to protect us from some rather interesting tropical action that is developing over the Atlantic. So for the most part, this week is going to remain relatively quiet with only a few isolated showers, temperatures averaging near to slightly below normal. And each afternoon you're going to have a shot of an isolated shower, but really won't be that much of a big deal. So the next moderate rainfall event will be on Friday with a stronger area of low pressure, but even this low pressure is not looking very impressive. Let's take a look at the tropics though, because Igor is looking rather powerful. So here we have a look of much of the tropical Atlantic. First, we have a disturbance over the Caribbean Sea, and this is a weak disturbance. It does have some development starting to take hold with a weak low level trough, and it's trying to form a low pressure system. A lot of the model guidance has this disturbance developing. It could be a threat for the southern Gulf of Mexico and especially the Yucatan Peninsula, but really, I don't really see this disturbance having much of an impact on the northern Atlantic or pretty much of America, except for the potential for some heavier rain middle of next week coming up through Texas. Now, the main story here is Hurricane Igor. Now, Hurricane Igor is a strong Category 4 hurricane, possibly becoming a Category 5 hurricane later on this morning. It is a well-developed hurricane with a very impressive eye wall. The good news, though, is that the same trough that's going to keep northern mid-Atlantic rather cool is going to be the same trough that's going to keep Igor away from the United States and curve it into the North Atlantic, where eventually it will produce a very strong negative NAO pattern and keep us cool for much of September, by the way. Now there's another tropical storm further east. This is Tropical Storm Julia. Now Julia is still under some of the influence of not only the outflow from Igor, but also a trough that's over the central eastern Atlantic. Now this trough is going to lift north, the Igor is going to keep on moving to the west, and that's going to allow Tropical Storm Julia to intensify and develop into a hurricane. The future of Julia, though, is going to be strongly tied to what happens to Igor. When Igor becomes entrained into the trough later on this week and into next weekend, Julia will also become entrained because of the strong trough over the central Atlantic. As a result, I really don't expect much of a way of impact directly from Julia on any landmass. Indirectly, it will again also set up an enhancement over the North Atlantic, which would keep the northern Atlantic rather cool for September. Keep an eye on that. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Now, The other disturbance that is currently over Western Africa, moving towards the Atlantic, that disturbance already has a well-established low-level circulation, plenty of convection. It just needs to get over the Atlantic to actually develop into a tropical system. That disturbance bears watching because I think that's going to become a tropical depression sometime between Wednesday and Thursday. So that should be something to watch. So the tropical Atlantic is remaining active. The northern mid Atlantic is staying relatively cool to near normal with typical fall like conditions. And looks like for the most part, no major storms are on the way. Thank you for trusting in NY and JPA weather as your weather source for the northern mid Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.